Welcome, everybody, to the Funny Indian Podcast, aka the TanGent Show. It has been so long since I've even said those words because my podcast isn't really up and running these days. What is up and running these days? Not a lot, because we are on day, I don't know, for me, I think it's day 11 of the quarantine because I shut down on March 16th. It was the day before St. Patty's Day. And that's it. I've been at home here in Los Angeles during the coronavirus quarantine. And my good friend Jane Lay is an actress in LA. And she's like, let's do a podcast. So it's the very first one I'm doing. Welcome, Jane.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Rajiv. I'm so happy we're finally getting to do this because you and I have been talking about this for like 10 years now. So
it's been a long time. Now, were you ever a guest on my TanGent show, the one that I recorded in my apartment in Studio City?
No, you asked me to be on it, and I just think I was really shy, and I was scared I wouldn't have anything to say. But over the years, as our friendships blossomed, we talked for 4 hours straight, so I actually don't have a problem with what might come out now.
I'm so glad to hear that, and I totally agree. It's so funny because the very first time that we met was through an acting class in the Valley, and we had to do a scene where you had to play this seductress in my apartment, and so my view of you was so different from getting to know you, which is really kind of a fun, silly, you're just, it's so different. Like, you're such a good actor that you really did portray a completely different persona. I go, oh, that's what Jane's like. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. I know, I'm so hardworking. I remember rehearsing with you and I was like, can I take your belt off? Can I whip you with it? And I'm like, I didn't really think it was weird at the time, but I could see why you thought I was a seductress now.
We had to do it in my apartment, and I remember at the end of it, you thanked me. You're like, thanks for not making this creepy and weird, because I think by definition, it could have gotten creepy and weird, but it didn't.
Oh, yeah.
It was just fun and playful, and everything was great.
Oh, I'm so happy that we've been friends since then. It's been a long, long time. I think you're one of the few friends I've kept since those classes, so that says a lot.
I think that's true. I am in touch with you by far the most. So even if every now and then I'll run across somebody. So tell me how you're doing. You can say specifically or generally where you are located. That's up to you to reveal that information as you want. We'll say you're in California, that we know. So what else? What's going on? What's your current state of affairs today on the 26th of March, 2020?
Well, it is my 14th day of quarantine. So I am popping out my frozen wine to, I've got this shit down, to celebrate. Okay, first off, I just want to do a shout out to you because like I didn't really say, but like I have been going to your shows and I never miss your birthdays. So I just want to let everyone know how amazing you are and that like you're a funny comedian because you just said how amazing I am. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew how, you know.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. Now I'm so glad I did this.
Shut up. So I'm on day 14 and I have to say there's a lot of people that are jumping in like this week and doing it. And all I have to say is that first week is the best advice I'd have to give is to let yourself kind of grieve and accept what's really going on right now. Because if you're just like, I don't know, just like going through your daily motions and just really annoyed or suppressing it, it's actually, you're just going to act out because you can't like resume day-to-day activities normally while there's this big elephant in the room of like a collective a common collective of us not knowing what's going on, and we're just unfortunately freaking out and watching all these other countries have it play out a few weeks prior, and it's very like out of our hands. So with that said, I learned on the second week to monitor my news. So I only get it through like funny guys like Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, all those guys. Then I only do social media on Fridays.
Oh, that's good.
Because all the memes and all the jokes, it's funny. And then you start, once I saw a friend who's in the hospital with it, I don't know. And then you get a lot of fear-based thinking, and it doesn't help you when you're in quarantine and you're stuck with that. It's like better to take the high road and work on your growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. And I think this is the best time to discuss mental health. That's the most important thing right now. Because I think a lot of people who haven't been taking care of that don't really have the tools to navigate the situation. A lot are turning to coping mechanisms, and we've all got it. Like I turn to drinking, to eating, to reaching out to someone from the past. And it's like, no, if you weren't going to do that before the quarantine or after, then don't do it right now. So that's my little tidbit. And then what I want to say is, you know how they say it's 21 days to change something, like to change a habit? And I did that with like a diet, or I hate calling it diet, but like a lifestyle. So I'm on week 2, and they say week 2 is when you start to get used to the flow and rhythm that you've developed. And then week 3 is when you accept and you adopt it. So week 1, yeah, like go all out, shit, like trust that it's gonna suck. Trust that you won't have it together. And I think if you don't judge the process, you're ahead of the game.
That is such great advice. I like that. The whole 21-day connection. I didn't make that connection. 21 days to form a habit, 21 days on a quarantine. Like they always joke around about 24 beers in a case and 24 hours in a day. Coincidence, right? That old joke. But this really does seem like 21 and 21 matches up well. And I had actually written something about, I've been putting out these musings on the coronavirus. And in the next installment, I think I already have written something about how take your baseline, right? So your weight, or how many hours you're reading, or, whatever it is that you want to change, whether increase or decrease or whatever, and that's your baseline. And I think it's really important. It's really great, your advice, because you're such a good actor, such a good actress. And you think about how you want to allow it to be there. You learn that in acting, right? Like if it's there in you right now, if that's in your gut and that's what you're feeling, you allow it to be there. And the more you block it, even when you're meditating, because I know you're big into meditating as well, when you're meditating and you have thoughts, the worst kind of mindset you can take is where you're trying to block thoughts, because that doesn't work. You have to, I've heard, like, you let them pass like clouds in the sky, right? A thought comes and you just sort of see it go by. And I like this idea of just including that and understanding that however you're feeling, it's real, right? It's part of you. So
yeah, and it's scary. Like, I mean, I went through this whole grocery store situation, and like, and I do have like a spectrum of OCD. So like, I'm already made for this kind of world with the glove and like, don't touch me, don't get near me, like it's dirty. So I'm always thinking ahead. So I'm already prepared. Like my food, I spent like a day online for 5 hours. I know, ridiculous. On Amazon Prime, like looking for my delivery times, and then just plugging away. And then I got Amazon delivery that day, then Whole Foods 2 hours later. Then they didn't give me my coffee. Then I ordered on Amazon Prime. Oh, I want my ramen on Target. Like, this is my OCD, but it's helped during this time. I'm not saying like go full out on your neuroses, but I'm just letting you know, accept what you can that is your survival skill. How have you been maintaining your social skills or social?
So I have always set up my day so that it's production in the morning, marketing in the afternoon, and then in the evenings it's leisure and or shows, performances, right? So the mornings I don't turn on my phone, I'm writing or I'm editing or I'm producing something, right? I'm working on the craft. I want to feel like, hey, I'm a comic. I wrote something funny. I wrote a sketch. I edited a video. I did what you would do that I could do in corporate America, because in the afternoons it's marketing. It's responding to emails, doing phone calls, meetings. It's like, well, if you do that all day, well, then maybe you're working in comedy, but your job is still basically the same. You're still responding to emails, responding to voicemails. Maybe the subject matter is different, but you should behave like an artist. You should want to create. And if you don't set aside time to do that every day, then why are you even doing this then? Well, then go back and work in corporate America if you're not going to take advantage of having a free day, which you have every day. I think to me, it's important about having a structure, having something so that you have some sort of structure to your day, because normally I sleep around midnight 30, and I'll get up around 8:30, you know, but now it's starting to drift and I'm more sleeping around 2 a.m., getting up at like 9:30. And
Oh, that's like not too bad, but you're sleeping less.
oh, well, except last night I slept from 12:45 to 9:45. So that was a long time. 9 hours is a lot.
Yeah, it is. I've been getting like 10 or 11. I'm just so bored. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just sleep at 9:30 and wake up at 5:30. I don't know.
It's good though. Your body needs it. And that's the thing that people also forget. Like, again, there's a balance of structure, but then you also have to leave time to be spontaneous. And if you just want to go to sleep, go to sleep. If you feel like sleeping in, sleeping in. That's what you should do.
I agree. And this is the best time to just do whatever you want to do without any like judgment. And I wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying about like being an artist. And this is the best time to be creating. Like, I mean, I'm sure everyone's been watching those videos of like Da Vinci did this and like all these greats did that. But this is actually the time when boredom and like self-isolation creates creativity, invention, and art. We have a story to talk about. A lot of people who have like boring like childhoods end up being such creative forces because like you had to create it all here. So we're kind of brought back into that world of like forced isolation and just like being very creative with people's toilet paper issues or like, or stupid things. Or like for me, like if all the fresh food goes out, I'm gonna have to learn how to like make like new cuisines, you know, like you just start having fun. And like I don't know, I don't really know how long this is gonna go on, and I think that's the scary part of the unknown. But this actually brings us back to humanity of remembering that we are not invincible and that we are not higher than, you know, technology makes us feel so higher up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this makes us what's the word, Rajiv? Kind of like
Reconnected
to our role in this society, in civilization. There was a joke in one of these late night hosts, I think it was Trevor Noah, where everyone's inside, so all the animals are running loose, and then soon enough, we're going to be the zoo for them, and the elephants are going to come look at us through our windows.
That's pretty funny.
They're going to take their land back.
That's really great. It is the idea of reconnecting, remembering our history, you know, where, you know, pestilence, famine, war. That's what killed most people. Out of the 100 billion people who have lived, it's war, it's famine, and it's pestilence, which is it's plagues and stuff like this. And so you think about the end of history. Fukuyama, I think, wrote about the end of history. And the idea of, wow, we are not just people. People is how we relate to each other. We're humans. We're human beings. We are the highest form of animals, but we're still animals. And you're connected to the earth, and a lot of the things we took for granted, you go, wow, that's right. We're still human beings on planet Earth. And that's something we don't think about a lot. You don't think about living as an animal, but that's really what you are.
Yeah. And, you know, like that's what I like when I travel, is that a lot of people don't live like how we do here. And there is still some of that, like, I don't want to say like primitive feelings, but you know, walking outside, like a walk these days is like, whoa, air, trees, cars, and my senses are alive again. And then I get back in the house and I'm like chilling on my bed. But just remembering our senses again is crazy, or valuing the food that you get through, because right now it's a circus out there. It's like a battlefield to get food. And don't get me started on the germs. Okay, go on.
Well, yeah, speaking of OCT, right? But it's the idea of we have it, we're lucky, right? We live in LA and the weather it's been cold for us, right? My wife and I are complaining about, well, it's only 61 today or whatever. But you go, dude, but it's March. It was still technically winter till last week. And so we're looking at it from the perspective of, we have each other, we're at home, we're self-quarantined, but we're, knock on wood, we're healthy. You got to count your blessings, man. There are people who are on actual quarantine. People have actually died, obviously, and people around them, people who got stuck outside the country, weren't able to make it back in. And, your heart goes out to them. But all of that said, your pain is still real, right? So when I was talking about this with a friend of mine, like, people go, well, our grandparents, they went through the Depression. It's like, that's not a fair comparison because their lives were completely different from what we have now. Like, they had large swaths of boredom. They were able to sit at home for hours with very little stimulus. And so to say, well, I should just be able to sit in a chair and do nothing for 4 hours, it's like, I don't know, man. That's pain. It may not be the same pain as having to go out and dig out your own food from the ground. I understand that. But isn't that what we learn about, like, all the Succession on HBO or The Crown or Downton Abbey? Like, those people have problems too. Just because you have $1 billion in royalty doesn't mean you don't have problems. I don't think people want to hear about your problems, but they want to watch them, clearly. Like, we watch all those shows and you go, wow, I don't know that I want to have $100 billion and be an heir to a throne. It looks terrible, actually.
Wait, so are you saying, so your, how is your connection with the Depression back then and our current state? Like, because we do have technology now. Are you saying, can you elaborate?
People, I think, feel guilty about complaining when they have it better than other people, right? And so there's the idea of going, let's put it in perspective, or look how bad our grandparents had it, right? But then you go, their lives, though, were nowhere near as amazing as ours. So the Depression for them was like this. Whereas people go, yeah, but you've got your friends, you've got Zoom, I know, but we also are a much more connected society where we see people a lot more, we go out a lot more, we have a lot more disposable income. And so when anything is taken away from you, whatever you're used to, so people who have $100 billion, if all of a sudden they lose their maid, like, oh, so what? So, so sorry for you, you lost your maid. Okay, fair. Yes, they're living a better life, but their emotions are still real and they have other problems. So these shows and things will show you that somebody is trying to get their fortune, or you never really know who your friends are, or, people are trying to kill you for your money or the crown or whatever it is. Like, those things still suck. It's not like people who are royalty have no problems. And in fact, my aunt, my mom's sister, says this all the time, where she feels like true happiness is amongst the poor. She sees kids playing in India who have nothing but like a ball to kick between two cones, and the smiles on their faces. And I don't know if you've noticed this, if you've gone back to Asia, Vietnam, whatever, but when I've gone to India, yes, the smiles on their faces seem a lot bigger. And I think it's because they are more connected to each other and more connected to the planet.
Like, authentic and genuine. I definitely agree with you. I think that's what I meant when I was like, when you travel, that's really well said. It's like, when you have less, you don't feel all of this taken away from you. And I love that you're thinking of the royalty strife. I am not thinking about their strife, but
yeah, because people don't know who cares about them. But it's like, well,
yeah, I'm like, why are we talking about them?
Everybody's got pain. Everybody's got it, and that mental. They may not want for anything physically, right? They're physically taken care of, but mental anguish is mental anguish. And I think that's my aunt's point, is those kids who have nothing on the street, they still, though they know what's important, they have the love of their parents, or they're very connected with their friends and all the basics that they really appreciate. And I'm not saying all of them do, but it gives you that, where talking to my mom, like our generation, a lot of times, like, what should I do with my life? What can we do? And my mom just said, we didn't have that. We just kept our head down and worked. We didn't ever think about who am I and what are we going to do? And she wasn't knocking it. She was just saying, this is a conversation my generation just does not understand. Like, we can get it on an intellectual level, but we didn't sit down and write our goals out like that.
Yeah, we're definitely in a different era of having like a discussion of like self-care, mental health. And yeah, my mom's generation, it's like, no, like we're trying to like flee from Vietnam War. She's just trying to raise 3 girls on her own. And, you know, like, I don't think they had the opportunity to ask themselves, like, who am I? And what do I like? And what do I want? Like, what kind of husband do I want? Her first marriage was prearranged. So like, it's
right.
Yeah. And you get that in cultures.
Same culture.
Yeah. But, what was I going to say? I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like as an artist, like you do have these things taken away. Like most of my like I was talking to my friend, like, oh my God, doesn't this suck? And she's like, this is just like being on unemployment. I don't have money to buy food anyways, so I'm just like on my deck and like drawing. I'm just trying to do the best I can. Like, that's a cool perspective. I mean, as artists, like, it's not like we're rolling all the time either, but it just sucks being forced.
That's the thing. Not having the option, you know, where, you know, I always talked about this with my friends of when we'd go on family trips, you know, I'd take, you know, 50 CDs and 10 books and 8 magazines. And, you know, in the car, I would end up maybe flipping through a magazine and listening to the same CD the whole way. And
I do that too.
Cracking a book. But you knew you had all that stuff. And it made you feel good. Like, if you would have just had that one CD, you would have hated it. You would have been like, I don't want to listen to this stupid Dave Matthews mixed with Tribe Called Quest, whatever great, you know, mix you made or whatever it was. And I don't care about that one magazine. It was the fact that you had all those options, and that made you feel good. And so right now, being at home, we might just be at home anyway, right? I mean, I'm sure I've stayed at home for 5, 6 days in a row, but now that someone's got a gun to your head saying you have to stay at home for 5 or 6 days in a row, that takes the fun out of it.
More like 3 weeks in a row soon.
And maybe 2 months.
You really think so?
Eric Garcetti, the LA mayor, was saying that it might be 2 months, in which case that would be, you might get to a breaking point with people. I don't know that they can really do that. I think that there's a limit, right? And so if people start dying in the streets, I think that would get people to stay in out of fear. But I think if things just kind of like coast the way they are, and there's a linear and not exponential growth in death, I mean, God forbid for any of it, but that's what you're going to get people to just go out because they just can't take it anymore. They have cabin fever and they have to see their friends, and we're social creatures, and Zoom just isn't cut it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I don't know about you, but when I FaceTime, if I FaceTime like 7 people in a day, I call that socializing, and I'm very tired and I need a retreat. Is that the same as how you feel when you're hanging out with people?
I know. I think it's harder to do this because I think you've got that technology delayed, AO technology, whatever that song was with Justin Timberlake, but that whole idea of you've got this connection, but not really. And so being able to physically, you know, I'm very touchy-feely, so being able to hug people and also just be able to every now and just touch their arm or like slap them on the back, or, you know, like, oh my God, just give them a little fist bump, or that's me. I mean, as soon as I meet a person, I mean, obviously I'm sussing out whether the person wants me in their personal space. I'm usually, I've never had someone like coil or anything like that. So I think people long for the human touch. It's very, very hard to, and I feel bad, especially for people who live by themselves. It's really hard.
Yeah, my friend, she told me that when she did her sheets, when it came out of the dryer, she said she threw it on her bed and then she hugged it, and it felt like a warm hug. And you know, I was doing my sheets, that's why she told me that. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? Let me do this, because I'm like living alone. And you know what? It did like sadly feel like a warm hug that I hadn't received in a long time.
I totally get it. I used to make out with my pillow. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there.
I did too. I think we all did.
I think it's a confession that people think is a confession.
Stopped last year, but I think we all stopped like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I haven't done it. I didn't do it last week, but yeah, I think that's a pretty common I think people think they're confessing something big, but it's like when you hear other people did it too, you're like, oh, thank God I'm not the only weirdo. So we all could have been making out with each other, but we were making out with pillows. Too bad. All right. Well, this is awesome. This was great. This was really cool. I'm glad that we figured it out on Zoom. And everybody, this is Jane Lay. I don't know if you want people to be able to find you or not, or your work or whatever.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah, I guess Instagram, the Jane Lay, TheJanele. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Shoot me a note, something. I'd love to hear how your quarantine's going, because that is good. And connect. Like, we're all here. Oh, and did you know, well, everyone knows, but like, I want to try that DJ Nice dance party. I think that's going to be fun.
when's the next one?
I don't know. He seems like he's playing constantly, and then Questlove's doing it too.
Yeah, it's great. I was on the same show with Questlove a couple of years ago in New York, and I was blown away. We were both on the same lineup. I'm like, no way, that's so crazy. So pretty great. Big fan of his. So cool. All right, everybody, look up Jane Lay, the Jane Lay on Instagram. So at TheJanele on Instagram, and you can find me at Funny Indian on the gram as well, Funny Indian, or anywhere on social media. So I want to thank you for joining us on the 26th of March, 2020, day 11 of the quarantine for me. Jane's even better at it than I am. Day 14.
Day 14.
And we actually hung out that day that the news dropped, where it really got crazy. That Wednesday, I'll never forget that you and I actually met and hung out in Larchmont. And it was like, oh, it was still kind of a joke. And then 3 hours later, it wasn't a joke.
Never saw you again. Shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
I went grocery shopping on Friday and locked up. And you and I didn't touch you. I was sanitizing your hands. I was shocked you went to the public restroom.
I know. But I did use the soap like crazy in the elbow. And then remember, I got so mad because why are you so mad? I go, because the door wouldn't open and I had to use my hand, and then I had to go back and wash my hands again. And then
one thing about Rajiv that no one will know, and it took me many years to find out, is that like he's super cool, but then the weirdest thing will make him flip, and he becomes like Real Housewives of New Jersey, and you think he's gonna flip a table, like. And it's actually really exciting to watch.
It's never anything big either. It's never like, I'll be the calmest person. I get this from my dad, the most calm person in an emergency, but the littlest thing. Yeah, I'd be like, why are you screaming? Because the hand sanitizer was out. Now that's a big thing.
So now heal that inner child that maybe didn't get hand sanitizer.
That's right. Yeah. It should have been washing my hands instead of making out with a pillow. Everybody, thank you for joining us on the Funny Indian podcast, the TanGent show. We're going to put this up. We did this on Zoom, which is really fantastic. We're coming to you from Los Angeles, California on the 26th of March, 2020. Take care, everybody.